Welcome back to Running with the Wolves. I'm Christian and this is Dustin, and we are here to bring you everything to do with athletics in the track and field world. And today we're going to talk about three major events: the Philly Half Marathon with Galen, Rupp, and Jordan Hasay, and the Interstellar Field that will be there, Club Cross Country Nationals and how it's going to be a growing event, and to see if the Kenyan American team can take back their title. And most of all, we're going to be talking today with the amazing Brooks Beast, Jessica Tonn. So without further ado, give her a warm welcome, and we'll leave it to Dustin to start off with the questioning.
All right, so Jessica, first off, I guess this is a question for basically any runner that's been in the sport for a while. How'd you get your start? What made you decide to run?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really excited to be a part of this podcast with you guys. But I have kind of the typical distance runner start to the sport. I had played soccer since I was younger, maybe starting around 6 or 7 years old. And then I played throughout elementary school and kind of throughout a little bit heading into middle school. And then I just kind of didn't start growing, and I kept kind of getting tossed around the soccer field and getting injured. And I had also developed a weird passion for running and PE. I remember my sixth grade, it was my sixth grade PE teacher. She would have me run the PE mile with the guys. And I loved it. And then she actually recommended that I try the after-school running program. And then it was kind of history from there. And then I actually I joined a club track team when I was in 6th grade, 7th grade, and would meet after school with them. And I just absolutely loved it. I started competing relatively young as well in the USATF junior competitions, I think around 12 or 13 years old. Mm-hmm. And then I actually tracked down one of the best high school coaches in Arizona when I was I think I was heading into 8th grade, and he had been working with a few athletes who I looked up to so much in high school. He worked with Carrie Hart, who went on to compete at ASU and BYU, and Garrett Kelly, who also went on to compete at ASU. And so I started training with him, and he actually ended up getting an assistant coaching position at my high school, alongside my other head coach. So I worked with Jeff Messer, who he actually coached Danny Jones, who goes to CU and is totally knocking the NCAA scene out of the park. But so I worked with Jeff and then Dave Van Sickle. They were my two high school coaches. And then I just I think I really started to realize how if I were to become pretty dedicated, and I realized I was young, and my parents helped me a lot in terms of just making sure I was dedicated and doing the little things outside of practice, because when you're a high schooler, it's really hard to have that perspective. Yeah. And then, just went on to run at Stanford for 5 years, and now I'm with Brooks. So I think, I'm 25, started running when I was 12, so been running for a while, and I'm loving every minute still.
So I guess, you now being with Brooks and being signed, I think a lot of kids do get burned out from the sport. How did you keep your energy starting out and so incredibly young, and now that you're with the Brooks and you're pushing forward, after college and high school, and now as a professional, how do you keep that energy to keep going and giving yourself that motivation? That's
a really good question. I think it would be hard for most athletes to say that they haven't reached a point where they felt a little bit burnt out or tired. But I think I do a really good job at keeping it fun. And I think that's why, you see a lot of young athletes who are amazing in high school, and they kind of get to college, or they kind of surpass college and go straight to running at the pro level, and then they kind of get burnt out, which is totally, understandable at this sport. It's such a high level sport, and it demands so much on your body, and not just physically, but also mentally. So for me, I make sure to surround myself with a team and with teammates who not only have the same mission and goal as I do, but also have kind of a similar approach to the sport. And we're not all the same. I think, that's pretty obvious. Everybody's very different. But when I look back and I think, okay, how am I still able to run at such a high level and, really, really enjoy it? And I think it's because of the people I surround myself with. My teammates, my coaches have been amazing. starting with Jeff and Dave in high school, and then Coach Milt in college. Really, I hit a few really rough patches in college where I kind of questioned my, my place in the sport, whether it's something I could really do at, the pro level that I'm at now. And Coach Milt really reignited my, flame and my love for running a few times in college, and I attribute a lot of my success now at the pro level to him. But yeah, I love it. It's so cool to wake up every day and get to do what I love. And I may have cut out there, but no, it's just really great to wake up every day and do what I love with teammates that are really, really awesome, and a company that is equally as great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess we could go ahead and start getting into probably the Philly half coming up. Two big names in there from the Nike Oregon project. You've got Galen Rupp and Jordan Hasay, who are both track and field runners, moved road distance. So just kind of on your opinion, transitioning, from the track, which obviously you have done for many years, to road racing. How hard is that as an athlete for you, or is it easier because, going on the road, you don't have to run in a continuous loop?
Yeah, I think so. For me, I've had, I feel like unlike Jordan and Galen, I kind of had a little bit of a rough transition to the outdoor track scene at the pro level. I actually haven't even competed indoors yet because I've been getting a little banged up each winter. Gonna change that this year. But so outdoor track has been an adjustment for sure. And I've kind of ever since I signed my contract with Brooks and Danny became my coach, I kind of had it in the back of my mind that I really wanted to run the 10K. Mm-hmm. And I haven't done that yet. So when the opportunity arose to do that on the roads after USA Outdoors on the track, I just couldn't say no, and I just had fun with it. And I raced at Peachtree in Atlanta, mm-hmm. and just had a total blast. I think that the track is awesome, but the roads, the spirit of the roads is something unlike anything else that I've experienced. Everybody's pretty just friendly, and it's really cool to be among spectators who are out there watching, but also people who are also competing, and either whether they're walking for a cause or a person in mind, or running because they've trained, for X amount of months. It's really, really cool to get to the roads and just have fun with, thousands of other people that are out there doing it. And it's also fun because there's just different elements in terms of, each course is different. The weather can be different one day. You kind of have to really think about nutrition and fueling before, during, and after these races, which is something that I just have found really cool and fascinating to learn more about. So for me, it's been a really, really nice transition. Each race has been different distance-wise. I did, the 10K at Peachtree, 7 Mile at Falmouth, and then just did a 20K in New Haven. So each time I approached one of these races, it was kind of just a big question mark, but I had a lot of fun with it. And I think with, other road racers who are super experienced, it may be a little different. But for me, I've had such a really, really fun transition to the roads, and I think you can see me on the roads for some time, hopefully.
So does that meaning you'll be on the roads more so than the track coming up, or?
No, so I do have, it's a world indoor year, so I'm mm-hmm. really looking forward to competing in the 3K, qualifying for USAs, and then, hopefully making the team in the 3K this indoor mm-hmm. winter season. And then I'll definitely run a few races outdoor on the track, but I think I will kind of shift either more towards the 10 or experiment a little bit more with the roads. It won't be as, as big of an experiment as it was this year. I think I'll actually, I truly didn't really train for anything longer than a 5K this year. So it's really exciting to think that, there's a huge opportunity there for me if I do put in the training for a full year from now, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. If you were just training for the 5K and you placed 6th at USATF Nationals for the 20K in New Haven and went 68 high, the sky's really the limit, I guess, with road racing for you.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm really excited.
It'll be interesting. So I don't know, kind of just to hit the Philly a little bit. It'll be interesting because it's a growing half marathon and stuff. How do you see from the men's side Galen placing? He's had a great long, amazing track and field career. Obviously since he's been in high school, but he could be a little burned out. Eliud Kipchoge said after the 2016 Olympics he sees him breaking the world record one day, but he has had a long career. It has hurt him, and you could say the same about Jordan Hasay. She's had amazing track career, pushed really hard. How do you see them in their respective fields doing in the half marathon that is coming up in Philly?
Yeah, well, I think with both Jordan and Galen, you see that they do have a pretty wide range. It's pretty amazing. And I raced alongside Jordan. I wouldn't say alongside. I was in the same race as her at the 20K. I was a few minutes back at the finish, but I could tell that she was kind of using this race as a gauge and a little bit of a tune-up for the half marathon coming up. And I've heard it's a relatively flat course, so I'm pretty sure it'll be pretty fast, which will be really, really fun to watch. But honestly, I think both of them, they're just, even though Jordan is my age and she's relatively still young in the sport, I think they're both veterans and, they're really good at what they do, and I'm really excited to see how it unfolds.
It will be definitely an interesting race, and it'll be quick and nice and just fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it'll be more of a tune-up for both of them, just because I know that they're really gearing up for the Chicago, I believe, Chicago is what they're aiming for. So it'll be really cool to see how they kind of approach the Philly half coming up.
Absolutely. So looking back at the college scene right now, what are you thinking about Stanford's team this year going into the season with new freshman Nevada Moreno and others in company going into the season, always going to be a front-runner team? How are you thinking of looking?
I am super excited. It's funny because they are currently at their preseason camp down in San Diego, and I had been invited by Coach Milt to come out but had to pop home for some family reasons, so couldn't make it. But from what I hear, I've got some inside intel resources that things are going really well, and I think they have a really good approach to the beginning of the season in the fall, where they're just getting the base training in and having a really good time, welcoming the new freshmen and then seeing each other again after a long summer break, because Stanford does start, we start pretty late in September. So, I think they've all just kind of been gearing back up. One of my closest friends, Vanessa Frazier, is now leading, the squad. She's a fifth year. And then we've got Elise back after she got a little bit banged up this spring. So I am so excited for them. I think it's really fun to have, some really well-seasoned veterans on the team, but the new blood that comes in, the freshmen always bring a really fun aspect to each year. And I saw a few Instagram posts and Snapchats from their workout, and everybody looked like they were having a good one a few days ago. So I'm really excited. I will actually be down at Stanford for our homecoming game against Oregon. So I'll be able to check in with the team there before everything gets started up. But from what I hear, the squad's looking great, and I'm really excited to see how they do in the beginning part of the season.
Yeah, for sure. How different?
I was asking the question. When you were in college, what was your favorite race that you liked running for the D1 college scene?
Oh man, more distance. Like what distance was my favorite, or which meet was my favorite?
I'll shoot for both.
Okay. I ran the 10K at Pac-12s every year. It was kind of like my annual 10K, and I just kind of threw my flats on, and going into each 10. Each year, Coach Milt would just be like, just win it. So I kind of went in with, my freshman year, it was a little rocky. Didn't compete. I had a little bit of an injury during outdoor track season, but then sophomore through my fifth year, I just ran the 10K at Pac-12s every year, and I absolutely loved it. It was really, really fun. Like I said, I raced in flats and then just focused on, because the aim was, getting as many points for my team at the Pac-12 championships, the aim was just to win. So to kind of set aside, because the rest of the year you're trying to chase times, to qualify for regionals, and then at regionals you're trying to qualify for nationals. But it's really fun to go into the Pac-12, and I think this answers the other half of the question. Pac-12s are my favorite just because the entire track team comes together, and you really get to learn more about each event and each squad. Sprints, throws, jumps. distance, middle distance, and it's really fun to just compete and try and get as many points on the board for your team. And it's really fun also just to, I mean, the Pac-12 is so strong, just like every other conference. So it's fun just to go to battle with all the teams that we've been, competing against all year before the championship part of the season geared up.
Very cool. That's awesome. Yeah, so, I mean, for you probably, and I think with most track and field athletes, we small goals first, because you just got to take it step by step. But obviously you're trying to qualify for indoor worlds and then transition to the 10K, and we'll see you in, more road races, as you said. But what would be an ultimate achievable goal that you want to attack, that you want to do, and that you can be happy with at the end of the day? Like, what is something for you that you really just want?
That's a really good question. I think for me, which my goal, just because I've had like a really weird bout of injuries the past few years, my goal for this year, honestly, was to get to the outdoor 5K starting line healthy. That was like the main goal. Danny and I sat down at the beginning of the year and then checked in at altitude camp halfway through the year, and that was just the main goal, was to stay healthy and just get to the starting line, because I know that if I get to the starting line, I've put all the work in and everything's done, and it's just about competing and laying it all out there. So I would say for essentially until this might even be like a pretty long shot goal, but I want to stay as healthy as I can until 2020, just because the races that I'd like to focus on for Tokyo are longer races, 10K or half marathon, I think. We'll see. But in order to compete well in 2020, I need to really set myself up well for that, and that means that I have consistent years of training. So I really need to figure out how to stay healthy, and I think I've really honed in on the little things that I have to do, alongside the bigger things, like getting, consistent training in. And so to stay healthy up until 2020 is the goal. But until then, I want to make championship teams. I want to set personal bests in every event that I run. And 2020 is long-term goal right now. Short-term, I want to compete for that world championship team indoors, and then I'd love to try and get some titles on the roads next summer. So yeah, big dreams, but starting small with the little things.
Yeah, and I know I had spoken to you the other day. Club cross country nationals in Louisville in December on the 7th, I believe, right? Or is it the 9th?
I think it's, sometime either the 9th or it may even be the 10th. Not 100% sure, but sometime around there, early December.
What's your goal for the Club Cross Country Championships? It being a 6K race distance, which is, I guess, what you race championship season in college for cross country, and that's got to be fun for you to go back to racing a 6K. I know it's not a distance that's run a lot.
I love the 6K. I think so. I raced Club Cross my first year on the Beast team. It was kind of my first race in a Brooks uniform, and the goal was just to kind of get my feet wet and kind of, test myself and see where I was at in training and just kind of get a good marker of my fitness. But going into Club Cross this year, I think the top 3 places go on to compete at, I believe, the World Cross Championships. I could be wrong. So I would love to make that team. I think that would be super awesome. I think Danny, I'd be remiss to say if Danny doesn't sit me down and say, we're going to try and go for the win. So I would say top 3 is probably the goal for Club Cross, but haven't thought too far yet down the road, just because I'm only into a week of my off time. But just thinking about it, I'd love to be top 3.
Yeah, for sure.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's always just good to be competitive. A lot of coaches, including my own college coach, my own high school coaches, race for place, not time, and that's a lot of struggles, I believe, for kids in high school, and it is. It a lot.
It's interesting too, especially at the collegiate and pro levels, to kind of go all year trying to hit certain marks and certain auto qualifying times, because it kind of takes away from just the competitive. I mean, it's still obviously a race and it's competitive, but it's so fun to watch races where people are just gunning for the win and not chasing time. So I always look forward to watching races unfold that way.
Yeah, I think just add something to that. It's crazy because you have to hit, qualifiers for the Olympic standard, the USA standard.
Uh-huh.
When you get to the Olympics, there's very few times. I mean, you could watch David Rudisha's race. Yeah, he just not only went for time, he went for the gold win. It was crazy. But, most of the time, most people, when they get there, it doesn't matter about the time. They're trying to bring, pride home to their country. So it's very tactical, it's fun. And, it's almost the races where people are just going for that first place that make races really interesting because, obviously East Africa has dominated distance running for a long time, and the USA is right up along, but sometimes you'll watch races, and since they're going for time, it's almost like a one-man race, but it's those races in the Olympics or big championships that you get to watch, and people do kick races or fast to slow to fast, and it'll change.
Yes.
Crazy things happen, pushing and falling, and it's just, I think, it's the races that we get to watch where it's for a medal, or it is just for purely of the fact I want to race against somebody next.
I totally agree.
So.
I mean, and that's the essence of our sport too, which makes it so fun. And a lot of these postseason meets and races and road races that are put on, domestically and abroad, they kind of adopt that whole mindset of just competing. I mean, money has never been a big drive for me in terms of, it's always a plus, and I think this year it's been great to get my feet wet on the roads and win some prize money. But I think what's really cool about these postseason races is that people know that some money's on the line, and it kind of and they do time bonuses for people that are leading at the 800 mark at the Fifth Ave mile. So things like that make races super, super fun, and it's just interesting for spectators that are there and watching from home. So yeah, just seeing the different ways that meet directors in different meets try to make it fun and interesting is a really it's really telling in terms of just like I said, the nature of our sport and that competitive aspect.
Yeah, I think just because we've hit most of our topics, I kind of want to hit something that kind of is the essence of what me and Dustin are trying to do. We were high school athletes. Dustin's running now, and I'm trying to get back into it from injury, and our goal was, we both, when we met each other 4 or 5 years ago, was, running to us was more than just running it on an oval or running on a cross-country course.
Yep.
There's the spiritual aspects for it, and really seen what running has done for addicts on drugs, we've people who are depressed. So for you, what does running as a sport mean for you in your life? Because obviously it is your life, so how does it affect you, and what does the sport each and every day mean for you as you go through it and take it step by step?
Yeah, I think for me, running it's one of, if not the most important thing in the world to me. And it's not because it's my job and brings home a paycheck and got me, into a really great school. And those things are all major, major pluses. But for me, running is, like you said, something extremely spiritual. And I think it's a time when you're forced to be completely present, with no distractions. And it's of course, sometimes I pop in my headphones and I run with music, but when I run, I feel like I'm all there, and I'm just fully, wherever I am, I'm in that moment, whether I'm running with somebody or by myself, or having a really, really bad day or a really, really good day. I think running just lets you feel everything you're feeling. And it's really funny because I think back in college, and I would actually I'd go for a run. I'd be super stuck in school, or I had to write a thesis my 5th year, and I would go for a run, and I would have 3 or 4 pages just written in my head, and I'd get home and I'd just type it all out. And for me, it's just very therapeutic. And when I'm injured, it's really not good. I got really good at cross training this year, but I'm not a multi-dimensional athlete because I love running so much. So when I can't do it, I would say I do get super, down, and I do get depressed, and just because I do love it so much. But for me, it's more than a sport and a job. It's a time when like I said previously, I'm just fully where I am. And it's really, really nice to just unplug and just have my feet and my legs carry me wherever I want to go. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in, I know it's rough for people to get into running, and I know some people totally hate it, which is great. But if you just give yourself a chance to get out there and, push through those first few weeks or first month of just getting, a few miles in, I think you really start to see the positive sides of running and getting, those endorphins going and just getting outside. But yeah, I absolutely love it.
And then one other thing, how was it running on the Brooks Beast team? Everyone sees on Instagram and Twitter and all the videos that are put out with the Brooks Beast team. It looks like a blast, whether it's a workout Wednesday or just going for a run. It looks like it's a blast. How was the team environment there? It looks like Kazzie's a fun guy to be around. It looks like Amanda's a fun girl to be around. And obviously Nick Simmons, who's been around the sport a while, the veteran. It just looks like a really fun group to be around. How is it over there? Yeah,
it is. Gosh, I don't think I could be around a more like-minded and fun group of people doing what we're doing. We have so much fun, and it gets tough. We have really, really tough days, and days where we just there's some times where I could barely get through a run, and my teammates pull me through it, and we get to practice, and we're serious. We get the job, we get the work done, whether it's a workout day or just an easy day. But we have so much fun on the track and at practice. And then the best part is when we're not competing and we're not racing or training and we're just all hanging out, we just totally shut it down and we shut it off and we just have fun. So I think we all have a very good balance, work, life, family, friends, running balance, where we can, when we're all together and we have certain goals and a mission in mind, we work hard to reach those goals. And, but right now we're all on the off season and we're all kind of scattered, but we'll all kind of be back in Seattle in the next week or so. So we're all looking forward to reconnecting and having, another fun week before official practice starts back up October 10th. So we have just under a month until that happens. But, yeah, we have so much fun, and I think it shows. It meets people kind of gravitate towards us, and it's really fun to have some fans come up to us and just see that we, even though we're all in our 20s and some of us are in our 30s, we're having just as much fun as they are.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. I think we want to show that, and we do have some work to do. I think we have some things that we can really hone in on a little bit better in these next few years, which we are. Everything's getting kind of, more focused and as the years go on, but we're just having a blast. And and we couldn't be more thankful that we have Brooks to support us. They do a really good job of making it from the top down level really fun for us. We're integrated super well into the company, and we have lunch with the employees every day. And so it's a really fun, cool environment. Yeah.
Yeah. And where do you see the sport going in the next 10, 15 years? How the sport's going to grow? Where do you see that going as a professional athlete?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's funny because I was just talking actually with one of my teammates, Justine Fedronic. She was one of my teammates at Stanford and then is now, with the Beasts. Not a Brooks sponsored athlete, but she trains with us and is, just as much a part of the team. But we were talking last night about how can the sport grow? How can we make it more spectator fun and friendly? I hope that, domestically we can kind of, and you can see it with the Tracktown series that happened this year, that it's kind of shifting in that direction of, having really, really cool domestic circuits. And I hope that kind of carries to the roads as well. I think there's a huge opportunity there to kind of do something similar. But I definitely see the sport growing. I think it'll be interesting to see, how certain things unfold, on the doping side of things, which is a whole nother topic. But I hope that the sport gets cleaner and cleaner and that athletes, stay true to clean sport. I think that's huge. But as far as the sport growing, I think we can make it. I haven't actually competed in Europe yet. I've always wanted to. But I've heard over there the meets are just so fun. And it's it's an experience for, for the spectators back there. And I know it is here, but you see it at Hayward. It's Hayward Field. Penn relays are always huge. There's certain road races, but it would be really cool to make that the norm everywhere that we compete. So hopefully the sport continues to grow. I think we've got I've got some great fellow athletes, and I hope to be, one of the athletes that is an advocate for that. So we'll see. I think there's some good things in the works from what I hear. So hopefully it's just nowhere but up from here.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really what all of our ambitions are as athletes, to help grow the sport. That's definitely what the ambition of this podcast was. That was the mission of this podcast. It's always been to grow the sport and introduce it to everyone else. So,
and it's not just at our level. Like, what you guys are doing is so cool, and I couldn't even think about, like, when I was in high school or college, like even starting something like this where you're reaching out to people in all walks and all parts of the sport about their experience. And I think it's really cool to just get different perspectives and different insight. And so thank you guys so much for including me.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you for being on. It's awesome to have you.
Yeah, I think, the most important thing about this sport at the end is, I come from a family of very hardcore athletes. My mom was a gymnast for 25 years.
Wow.
Oh yeah, my dad is an ultra runner, and he did soccer, like scoring high school team in St. Louis, and my brothers were doing crazy stuff, rugby and wrestling. But everybody in my family says the same thing. There's something elemental about running as a sport, and honestly, like, as much as I love the competition aspect, I couldn't live without it. It is really just keep positivity in my life, and it's just soothing. So our goal, as much as it is to reach out to high school athletes who are going to try to do what you do, hopefully one day, it is just to reach people who are possibly in their 70s or 80s who are trying to keep a healthier life and want to, not only physically but mentally too. And that is just honestly the most beautiful aspect that this sport, brings to people and from all walks of life. So I think with that said, I think we're coming up to closing comments. So I was just going to ask if you could, if you had anything to say to high school athletes who are trying to get out and, make a name for themselves, but are a little probably nervous because the field is getting big. What would you say to those high school athletes?
Yeah, I can't believe how fast high schoolers are getting now. It is pretty remarkable and amazing to watch. I think when I look back at my high school experience, I think part of the reason why I ran so well was because I was a little bit naive, and I think it's hard to be naive these days just because there's so much information out there, and with like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and social media, those athletes can reach and follow athletes like us, and they know what we're doing and they see what it takes at our level. But I think the most important thing, which goes back to my coach at Stanford, he always reminded us to just be present, and that just it didn't have anything to do with practice. Some days he's like, when you're with your family, be all there with your family. When you're out with your friends, be all there with your friends. And when you're in school, like, don't think about practice, don't think about the workout we have today, just be fully present. And I think in high school that's really, really important because I think that's kind of when you have like some of the loftiest goals, because the way that you approach your sport in academics kind of determines the trajectory of your academic and athletic careers. And I think, junior and senior year, that can get a little bit stressful. But I think it's, and those athletes that are out there who do have those huge goals, they are already competing and running at that level, so they already know what it takes. But at some point, you just have to remember to be a high school kid and have fun, because you have all of college, and then you have, hopefully beyond that to really hone in and live the life that it kind of takes at this level to compete. But I think for high schoolers, the most important thing is to keep it fun. Time management was huge for me. That was another thing where growing up in Arizona, I'd practice at 5 a.m. every morning just to escape the heat. So that kind of made me become I was pretty determined and pretty, my parents kept me in line a little bit, wasn't out too late, but they also did a really good job at making sure I had a lot of fun with my friends. So just keep it balanced, keep it fun, but also just enjoy competing and training, and then just keep dreaming and keep reaching those goals. But yeah, just make sure to keep it fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, anything to say before we go, especially since you're entering your college season and coming up on your first race?
What I have to tell the people from my month and a half I've had training for college so far is keep it fun, stay close with your teammates. It's a lot like Jessica said. It's going to be tough, and it's going to be a grind, and every day is going to be rough, and there are going to be some workouts where you're not going to get through and you're going to have to cut them short. But stay positive, and you can reach where you want to be. My senior year of high school, I missed 10 weeks over the summer after blowing out my knee, missed training basically.
Oh, wow.
I missed 10 weeks my senior year, and I'm now at a program where we're looking at hopefully making a national championship appearance, D2 this year at Flagler College. So it really goes to show staying positive and staying true to yourself and believing always will pay off, and you can get where you want, like Jessica said. It's always going to be a sport that is rewarding if you put in the work. That's why this sport is so great and will continue to grow, because what you get out, you put in.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll take it as far as it takes you, basically. So I think it's just going to continue to grow, and I think it's a great thing for people. And looking back, it's been tough, but it's definitely all been worth it. And I'm sure Jessica will tell you, I'm sure Christian will tell you the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, guys, so I guess we're going to wrap it up here. And so what we're going to finish off with is the fact that we just heard amazing words of wisdom from Jessica, who is a professional athlete, has had a stellar career already, and she's got many amazing years to come for her. So keep in touch. We'll put links, everything in the descriptions and our bios. You guys know that. And we're trying to reach out for you guys to get on more platforms through running sites so that you guys can access easier. And mostly importantly, even after all this is posted and stuff, the reason this is around and the reason we want to share this for all that are watching is that running is about a healthy lifestyle and it's a healthy mentality. And whether you're like me, I'm just trying to get back into it so I can get into some competition, or you're Jessica who's literally running at a professional level, the sport is meant to pushing yourself as a human being. And whether it's you're 80 or you're 10 years old, the sport should have one mind, and that's to make you better. So with that said, we thank you so much, Jessica, for coming on. You are an amazing interviewee and shared just an amazing story and your thoughts. To interview you again after you just keep bringing home golds, and we'll hopefully see you in the.
I'd love that. Thank you so much, Christian and Dustin. I had a blast. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, we're signing off. We will see you later.